So, church people are notorious for resisting change, right? But in our world, nothing is constant. Nothing stays the same for very long. So for churches, this constant changing culture creates both a great foreboding, but also a great opportunity. Because nothing can grow without change. Nothing can improve without change. Growth always requires change. So, if you think about it, change is what makes your leadership necessary in your church right now. Good leaders know that churches die from never changing and staying too comfortable, from repeating the all too familiar phrase, "Oh, Pastor, can't we just go back to the way we've always done it?" So if you want to lead change in your church, don't start with what you're planning to do or how you're planning to do it. No. Start with communicating a compelling why. Why is this change so important for our church? You see, why you're making these changes is the most important message you can communicate to your people. Because a compelling why is the only thing that will inspire them to action and to make the necessary changes. So let me start with a compelling why. Why should you change and reorient your church to become the kind of place unchurched people love? And to do that, I'll need to ask you a question. Have you ever lost something of great value? Now, of course you have. We all have. But here's the universal principle that applies in those circumstances. When we lose something of great value, we go to great lengths to find it, right? So when my eldest son Matt was just 5 years old, I lost him in our local Tesco. He'd got distracted by some chocolate lightsaber or something. Suddenly, he wasn't there anymore. And I became crazy dad, shouting his name, "Matt, Matt," and running up and down the aisles looking for him. I mean, that day, my boy warranted an all-out search. But imagine if I'd called my wife and said, "Darling, I've lost Matt, but it's okay because we've still got Nathan and Joe at home." Or imagine if I'd said to the store manager, "Listen, if you find him, I'm in most Fridays. Let me know, I'll stop by and pick him up." Now, of course I didn't do that. Why? Because I knew that when we lose something of great value, we go to great lengths to find it. I mean, Jesus himself, he talked a lot about lost things, from lost coins to lost sons and even lost sheep. He talks of a shepherd who had 100 sheep and manages to lose one. And here's the amazing thing about that story. This shepherd leaves the 99 and goes searching for that one lost sheep. Why? Because the shepherd knew that when we lose something of great value, we go to great lengths to find it. I mean, can you imagine a church where the leaders, the shepherds if you like, are less concerned about the 99 members in their flock who are safely in the pen and already going to heaven, and more focused on looking for that one lost sheep? The problem is, the gravitational pull of every church is towards the already connected, the 99 over the one, those who come to church and know which seat to sit in, who know the songs, who know where to take their kids, the ones who've already been found. I mean, wouldn't you love to be a leader that defies that gravitational pull and leads a church that's more concerned about who it's reaching than who it's keeping? A church whose primary concern wasn't about the already connected, but the disconnected. A church that goes after that one lost sheep as a priority over the 99 already found. Listen, if your answer to that is a resounding, "Yes, Duncan, count me in, I'd love to be that leader," well, then that's inevitably going to mean that you're going to have to lead some change in your church. And come on, Christians were wrestling with this kind of dilemma 2,000 years ago. You see, the non-Jews had started following Jesus. But the Jewish Christians had a problem with that. I mean, these Gentiles, they hadn't been circumcised like our traditions demanded. So in Acts 15, the Jewish Christians gathered in Jerusalem to decide what to do about these outsiders who were turning to God, but going against their church traditions. At the end of their discussions, James stands up and concludes, "It's my judgment, therefore, that we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles, the outsiders, who were turning to God. We should not make it difficult for outsiders." What if that one statement from the Bible became the benchmark by which all decisions are made in your church from now on, that we should not make it difficult for outsiders? What if your church could become preoccupied with removing any obstacle that stands in the way of people turning to God? What if it became your new mission to remove any easily resistible thing in your church that stands in the way of our irresistible Saviour? I mean, honestly, what does your church obsess over right now? What's your church currently preoccupied with? Are we simply creating church for church people? Maybe that's why you dread your leadership team meetings, and because your church has become obsessed with the most inconsequential of trivia. I mean, you rarely talk about anything important these days because all you're doing is managing the expectations of found people. Listen, I know you care about lost people in your heart. Of course you do. You're a church leader. But do you care about them in how you program your services or prepare your talks or create your budgets? Honestly, I mean, the care you feel in your heart for people who are far from God doesn't actually make a hill of beans difference to where they'll spend eternity. I mean, do you want to spend the rest of your ministry years feeling something you don't do anything about? Managing what was once lost to the neglect of what is still lost? Or are you ready to leave behind the familiar and the predictable, to try some new things, to evaluate everything you do through the eyes and ears of the guest, and create a church in your community that grows by reaching unchurched people and reflects the very heart of Jesus? We've all got our work cut out for us in this, right? So over the next 5 sessions, you'll discover a framework that will help you become a church that resists the pull towards focusing on the needs of the insider, because that always creates barriers for outsiders. I mean, this framework, it'll help you stop the drift towards simply preserving instead of advancing. And it'll inspire you to be more concerned with who you're reaching than who you're keeping. So we'll help you. We'll help you to find new ways to grow your reputation in your local community. We'll show you how to produce Sunday services that are so engaging, set in such an appealing setting that guests will want to return again and again and again. And we'll help you prioritize the next generation and connect people into serving roles that they're really, really passionate about. And we'll help you design a clear plan that moves people from mere believers into wild-eyed followers of Jesus who are resilient, generous, and others-oriented. So in the next session, we'll talk more about how your church can become a destination by making a difference in your local community.